Right?
All great.
Thanks.
Okay, ready? Okay, we have a quorum present, so why don't we start our regular meeting, and then we'll go through the agenda. So the warrant committee members, just say your name and present.
Ed Vizala, present.
Jill Rafter present.
Brett Nelson, present.
Peter Michelson, present.
Steve Callahan, present.
Bob Sonic, present.
Matthew Eldridge, present.
Okay, great. So this meeting, like all our meetings, is being recorded. And it is March 28th at 7:05. Do I have a motion to open up the hearing?
So moved.
Second? Okay, great. So we will open our warrant hearing pursuant to Section 2.9 of the Town Charter. The proposed town warrant has been posted to the town's website and made available to residents. A public notice of this warrant hearing has been made to the residents of Medfield. The warrant committee will now hold a hearing on the proposed town warrant. This hearing is being recorded, and a replay of this recording will be made available on the town's website. For those not familiar with us, the warrant committee is a 9-member volunteer committee of Medfield residents appointed by the town moderator, Scott McDermott, to advise the town residents on the town meeting warrant. Warrant committee's two main functions are to study the financial affairs, the budgets, capital expenditures, and other investments, and to evaluate warrant articles presented to us from town administration, the select board, the planning board, and citizens' petitions when necessary. It's our responsibility in regularly scheduled public meetings to openly deliberate fiscal matters such as operating capital budgets, as well as provide a public forum for presentation and deliberation with the sponsors of each article. In addition, members spend considerable time and effort reviewing budget material for each department and meeting with the superintendent of schools, the town administrator, assistant town administrator, to the school director of finance and operations, and various department heads. We research articles presented for vote at town meeting and provide an informed judgment with a recommendation for passage or dismissal. We have held regularly scheduled public meetings during the last few months to openly discuss operating budgets of the town, municipal, and school departments. And copies of those meeting materials and minutes and recordings are available on the warrant committee website, www.town.medfield.net. Following a brief presentation by me on the town's fiscal update and the proposed operating budget, we will then proceed through each article in the warrant and open it up to questions and comments, first from people present in this room, and finally to participants on Zoom. Questions should be directed to the chair. If you have a question or comment, please come up to the podium so that those listening outside of this room can hear you. As always, we encourage a civil dialogue, and the purpose of this public hearing is for both sponsors of articles and the warrant committee to hear from the public as to the article being presented and before the publication of the warrant committee's final recommendations. If you are on Zoom, please enter your name and address in the chat function, and we will promote you to comment and ask questions on the related articles as we go through them. Christine, someone's gonna monitor the chat, okay. At the end of this hearing, we will vote to close this hearing and move to our regular scheduled meetings where we will continue our deliberations, consider and vote on committee positions for articles, including citizen petitions. These are open to the regular public. We would ask that all sponsors of citizens petitions to please make available prior to their respective warrant committee meetings the actual motion to be made in proper form. This will allow the warrant committee to make an informed judgment on the article. Please work with counsel to achieve this. So we do have a number of future meetings scheduled on April 3rd and April 11th. April 3rd, we'll be talking about Article 26, and then 2 citizens petitions, Article 30 and 31. And on April 11th, we'll be talking about Article 32, Article 28, and Article 5. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to make one comment that as we kick off this warrant hearing, it reflects, as Steve has said, months of work. And as I look out into the room, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the people in the room who are here from the departments and from the town administration, the select board, that have been participating and working with us over this period of time. It really is for a town like this, and the moderator will always comment on this at the end, but I'm going to steal a little of his thunder and say, this really is a privilege to be in a town that has the ability to govern itself. And as we come forward, as I said, it's been a privilege for me, and I know for the members of the committee, to work with each of you, to show your dedication, to show your competence, and really your patience in some cases with us as we work through this. That what we present tonight is to you and the citizens of the town as a legislation. So we present what has been brought forward, and shows a lot of work, but now it comes to you, and you are the legislators of the town, and you will be the ones who will make the decisions. So encourage you and all your neighbors to participate. We have another month continuing that this will be reviewed, but I think it's again, it's really quite an honor for us in a small town that we are, that we can educate and legislate, and these are our decisions. And I just wanted to comment and say appreciate all the work that's been done, but I look forward to continued participation by the citizens. Thanks.
Okay. All right, do you have the presentation? There's a brief presentation to walk through and educate people on the some of the financial fiscal updates for the town. So you can probably go to the next slide. As we look at the fiscal update on our finances, it's important to note that our budget must address multiple areas of the town finance. And first, we look at, obviously, our operating budget. It's our main area, providing services to the community through the school and municipal budgets, and it's the area most familiar to the town. However, it's also important that we address our capital budget. We need to ensure that we are properly maintaining our town facilities and providing appropriate and efficient equipment for our departments to use, particularly our public safety and public works department. We also need to address our reserve accounts, making sure we have appropriate funding to protect the town in case of an emergency or a recession. It's also an important component of our credit rating. We also need to address long-term liabilities, and these include our pension and OPEB liabilities. And as always, trying to address all these items in relation to our tax bill, as we're financed through our real estate tax bill. It's a very difficult balance to handle all of these areas. Over the past years, the Select Board, the Finance Team, and the Warrant Committee have done a good job of ensuring we're presenting comprehensive budgets that address all of these needs. Next slide. So looking first at our revenues, the FY24 total revenue budget is $74 million. And the pie chart shows you the components of our revenue. The main area, our property taxes, are shown in the color blue. 74% of revenues comes from property taxes. We have a much lower reliance on state aid, which is shown in the red color. This is a typical revenue chart for a suburban community in Massachusetts. If you saw this same chart for a large city in Massachusetts, you would see a much higher reliance on state aid. So as we said, we're very reliant on property tax revenue. It's much more challenging to present the balanced comprehensive budget. Our revenue source is restricted by a formula, Prop 2.5, and we must always balance services we're providing with the impact to our tax bill. Next slide. So looking next at Prop 2.5 revenue source. So a lot of people think that Prop 2.5 limits the increase to their tax bills to 2.5% each year. It does not. Prop 2.5 really is just a limit on the total taxes that the town can raise. This slide really shows how that formula works. And as shown in the red, the formula just begins with an amount from the prior year. We are then allowed to increase that by 2.5%. We're then allowed to increase it for an estimate of new tax growth. And then continuing with the formula, we then add the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund override, which includes a 2.5% increase each year. And this is an override that was approved at the 2018 town meeting to provide a dedicated revenue source for maintaining our town building and facilities. And continuing down, we have a total that's called the levy limit within Prop 2.5. And continuing, the formula then allows us to add to that the principal and interest for exempt debt from outside of Prop 2.5. So you then get to the amount called the maximum levy, or some people call it levy capacity. This is the maximum amount that can be taxed under the formula. And as you see, for most years, we've chosen to tax essentially that maximum amount under the formula, except last year, due to some unexpected increases in state aid and new growth and local receipts. The budget plan for FY24 is to tax the maximum levy limit. Looking at the next slide, let's take a look at Medfield's single-family tax bill. You can see in FY19 the average tax bill, going back to 19, they increased almost 9% due to the large number of overrides approved at the 2018 town meeting. There hasn't been an operational override since 2018. Since then, we've managed to stay within the Prop 2.5 framework and had a smaller increase each year, with smaller increases each year. As for the proposed 24 balanced budget, the increase is expected to be 1.9%. This is based on a single-family average assessed value of $839,765, which results in an estimated average tax bill of $13,204 for FY24. You can see Medfield's ranking on the right side in the state average tax bill. This is one of those rankings you don't want to be at the top of. But historically, we were in the low 20s, the high teens. And then in FY19, because of all the overrides that the town approved, we went up in the ranking to number 15 in the state, which means there's only 15 communities at that point that had a higher tax bill than us. We've now moved back down to the ranking of 20 in FY22. So next we turn to the history of state aid. Our receipts have increased to approximately $8.5 million for FY24 based on the governor's budget, and charges have decreased to $966,000 in FY24. Next slide shows the history of the net state aid, so it's the net of receipts and charges, and dollar amounts on the left axis, and the percentage change each year on the right axis. So while FY23 showed an increase in the percentage up to about 2.9%, you can see it's expected to decrease to 1.6% in FY24 based on the governor's proposed budget. Next slide. So next we look at local receipts. The FY24 budget is $4.3 million for local receipts, an increase of 2.9%. One half of this are excise taxes for motor vehicles, followed by a 16% from licenses and permits and 12% from investment income. The budget for investment income has increased due to an expected rise in interest rates at current levels through FY24. So next, we'll turn to what our operating budget expenditures are. And this is Article 22. We're taking this a little out of order because it's the most important article. As you can see, the school operating budget represents 60% in the blue slice. Municipal is 19% in the red slice. Fixed cost, approximately 15% in the yellow slice. The fixed costs represent health insurance, retirement, OPEB for both the school and the municipal staffing. There's also a budget for other general insurance like workers' comp and property insurance. So this budget funds our core services. As you can see, the budget is overwhelmingly salary driven, since as a percentage of the budget, salaries and the benefits represent almost 80% of the total. Salary increases are driven by contractual obligations from recently negotiated collective bargaining agreements for the schools, the police, fire departments, and COLA and step increases for all staff. For FY24, our energy costs for school and municipal purposes are budgeted to increase 15%. School transportation costs are budgeted to increase 12%, and the health insurance for both school and municipal employees is estimated to increase 5.4%. So as we mentioned, we're always striving for stable and sustainable school and municipal budgets. On the next slide, we show a comparison of 23 to 24 operating budget. As you can see, the FY24 operating budget is $70.6 million, or an increase of 1.5% from FY23. You can see the total increase is only 1.5%, but this is due to a significant decrease in our debt service. The actual increase before debt service is 3.57%. Also, with respect to that municipal operating budget, there is a cost of $68,000 for additional staffing for the outreach department, which is related to the opioid settlement stabilization fund. So without that, the increase would be 4.41%. So are there any questions on Article 22 or comments? Comments or questions on Article 22? Check online. If you have a comment or question, could you go up to the podium?
I'm actually screen sharing, so I can't access the...
So Chris Potts, 7 Curve Street. So on the operating budget, specifically with regard to the 60% that's allocated for the school budget, it was great to see that the budget was reduced, the increase was reduced down to 4.13%. In other districts, I think one of the things that I have brought this up at school committee multiple times, in other districts, not only do they often have 2 public hearings on the school budget, because we very rarely get details about the school budget until the Warrant Committee actually gets their details. I mean, our public hearing was really difficult to have any kind of substantive information. But more concerning is that we have a huge, very large decrease in enrollment at the high school over the next 4 or 5 years. And it's going to take some time before we even get up to the 2015 level in terms of population. And at this time of year, before the budgets are actually sort of vetted and confirmed, a lot of other districts have a very in-depth conversation about the intra-district school choice. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, basically it allows you to admit students from other districts, basically public school districts. And for that, you get $5,000 per student in tuition. You can set the amount based on the number of available seats that you have. So when our school population at the high school is going to be dropping very dramatically, it's concerning that we have not had a conversation about this inter-district school choice as one possible avenue of revenue. There are pros and cons to this. I'm not for or against it. I just think it's irresponsible of us to not have the conversation to figure out what that would look like because of the drop of enrollment at the high school. And we are paying out money for school choice for other districts. So I do think that that's something from a revenue standpoint that really needs to be discussed, for fiscal responsibility purposes. And I'm also hearing too that for the 8th grade, coming in, that 17% are going to private school. And we have no idea whether that number is calculated into the enrollment drop. There's a lot of general big picture information on the school budget, but it's very difficult to get details. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, turning next to, are there any comments online or questions online? Zoom, nothing, okay. So turn to the next slide on free cash. So here we have the certified free cash balance at July 1st, 2022 at $4,010,325, and the various proposed uses of that free cash in the warrant. This leaves us an unused free cash balance of $1,773,000, which is in compliance with our 2.5% financial policy test. The FY24 budget has been prepared in accordance with financial policies that are designed so that operating expenditures are covered by current operating revenues, not non-recurring revenue sources. And I'm happy to say this is the second year in a row that free cash has not been used to balance the budget. It's a very important discipline that we've adopted and the town's adopted, and we've stuck to it, which is very good. Okay, so you'll see further discussions of these articles as we go through, but this is just it's not an article in and of itself. It's just to educate you on free cash. The next slide, please. Just a few words on our credit review. There are no articles in the warrant for new debt borrowings. Town finance is always monitoring how our comprehensive budget decisions might impact on our credit rating. Our latest rating was in 2021, a AA1 by Moody's. It was a good rate. It's a good rating that helps us issue debt at lower interest rates. The last bond sale of the town was in FY22, September 2021, when there was a very favorable borrowing environment. Some could say once in a lifetime. The interest rate on 10 to 20-year water department bonds was 1.46%. And today the borrowing environment has obviously gotten a lot worse. We turn to the next slide. We turn to our reserves. Here you can see a history of our reserves as a percentage of operating revenue after subsequent spending of free cash. Coming out of the COVID years, the town has managed to rebuild the general stabilization fund so that there are now reserves to help with any future economic downturn or an emergency. The buildup of these reserves is very important to maintaining our town's strong credit rating. And the General Stabilization Fund is estimated to be $3.1 million as of FY23, and Article 22 will transfer an additional $500,000 from free cash, bringing the balance to $3.6 million at the end of FY24. Okay, the next. So these are Articles 15 and 16 related to the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund. So as we all know, it's important to maintain our town and school buildings, and so as we mentioned, in 2018, the town approved the Prop 2.5 override of dedicated revenue, specifically for reinvestment in our municipal buildings. This override and the contribution increases by 2.5% each year. It is voted on. In FY22 and FY23, there were additional transfers into the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund from the MSBA reimbursements and unused funds on projects. The current projected balance in this stabilization fund for FY24 is approximately $500,000, and it's anticipated that there will be future transfers into the fund in FY24. Articles 15 and 16 ask the town to transfer $1.1 million into the stabilization fund, and appropriate $1.4 million for capital projects related to our buildings. And the details of the appropriation are provided in the warrant. Are there any comments or questions on Articles 15 and 16? Anything on Zoom? Okay. Moving on then to Articles 17 and 18. So this is sort of how do we fund capital equipment items that are not related to buildings? So while the town has approved the creation of a capital stabilization fund at the 2021 town meeting, it does not have a dedicated source of revenue like the municipal building stabilization fund. And to date, it's been funded from various sources like free cash, the sale of land, and ARPA funds. The town's been able to build up this stabilization fund by first using ARPA funds and then additional transfers of free cash. So Article 17 is the FY24 transfer of free cash of $850,000 into the fund. The FY24 appropriation of $796 from the capital stabilization fund is Article 18, and it's funded through 40% or $350,000 of ARPA funding and approximately 51% from the capital stabilization fund. Are there any comments or questions on Articles 17 and 18? Anything on Zoom?
No.
Okay. Okay, next is Article 1. Article 1 is the annual town reports. Any comments or questions on Article 1? Anything on Zoom? Nope. Okay. Next are the human resource articles 2 through 5. Article 2 is elected official compensation. Any comments or questions on Article 2? No. Article 3 is personnel administration plan. Any comments or questions on Article 3? Article 4 is the collective bargaining agreement with the police. Any comments or questions on Article 4? Article 5 is the revocation of civil service. Any comments or questions on Article 5? Okay. Anything on Zoom for any of those? No. Okay, moving on to the next topic is the opioid stabilization fund. So, as you know, they settled the opioid litigation, and the settlement details have resulted in the state receiving the settlement proceeds over an extended period of time. And the funds that the municipalities will receive have strict use requirements and will occur over several years. So this article deals with the creation of an opioid stabilization fund, Article 6. Any comments or questions on Article 6? Article 7 deals with the transfer into opioid stabilization fund. Any comments or questions on Article 7? Article 8 deals with the transfer out of opioid stabilization fund. Any comments or questions on Article 8? Anything on Zoom? Okay. Okay, the next group of articles is the revolving funds, trust, and other funds. These are Articles 9 to 14. Article 9 is the authorization of a new vaccine revolving fund. Any comments or questions on Article 9? Article 10 is the annual revolving fund expenditure limit authorization. Comments or questions on Article 10? Article 11 is Cemetery Perpetual Care Trust Funds. Any comments or questions on Article 11? Article 12 is the Vine Lake Cemetery Expansion Study. Any comments or questions on Article 12? Article 13 is the Local PEG Access Appropriation. Any comments or questions on Article 13? And Article 14 is Affordable Housing Trust Request for Funding. Any comments or questions on Article 14? Is there anything online in Zoom? Okay. All right, we're getting there. Next group is the water and sewer articles. So the Article 23 deals with the enterprise fund. It's the FY24 Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund budget. Any comments or questions on Article 23? On Articles 24 and 25 deal with the water treatment plant project. They appropriate surplus bond proceeds for the water treatment plant, and then they rescind bond authorization. Articles 24 and 25, any comments or questions on Articles 24 and 25? No. Okay, anything on Zoom? Okay, the next group of articles are other financial articles. Article 19, construction of a garage at the center at Medfield. Any comments or questions on Article 19? Article 20 is elementary school feasibility study funding. Any comments or questions on Article 20? And Article 21 is paying our prior year bills. Any comments or questions on Article 21?
$3,441, if anybody.
What was it?
$3,441.
And then Article 33 is it's a placeholder article for free cash. Any comments or questions on Article 33? Okay, anything on Zoom? Nope. All right. Then we move to Articles 26 to 29. Article 26 is the school committee PPA and lease authorization for solar photovoltaic. Any comments or questions on Article 26? Article 27 is change in hours for noise bylaw. Any comments or questions on Article 27? Article 28 is the water conservation private well restrictions. Any comments or questions on Article 28? Article 29 is the amendment to the school building committee bylaw. Any comments or questions on Article 29? Anything on Zoom for those? Okay. Okay, Articles 30 to 32 deal with citizens' petitions. Article 30 is citizens' petition for the school committee public hearings. Any comments or questions on Article 30? Article 31 deals with citizens' petition on compensation transparency. Comments, questions on 31? And Article 32 deals with citizens' petitions for the creation of a groundwater protection committee. Any comments or questions on Article 32? Okay, anything on Zoom? Okay. So the last slide is really just a thank you to everybody who's here and listening. But more importantly, make sure that you show up at town meeting to participate. So we have a quorum this year. There's some information here on financial information. And if anyone has any questions for the Warrant Committee, you can email us at warrantcommittee@medfield.net. No, I'd like to, unless there's any more questions or comments, I'd like to entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to close?
Public
hearing.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this public hearing is now officially closed. All right, so we will resume our normal warrant committee hearing agenda. Meeting agenda, yes, sorry. The hearing is closed. We're going on to our meeting now, right? All right.
Why don't we just take 2 minutes while we,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. We'll take a 2-minute break.
Thank you again.
So,
and then there was one.
all right. Do we want to go, maybe we should go to the department budgets and see if Sharon might show up. And so,
Yeah, I can do those first.
what time is it? Give her another 10, 15 minutes.
Yep. That's fine with me.
So why don't we start with the health department,
Sure.
and then we'll move on to facilities.
Okay. I have the health department. Okay. Good. So the health department the budget covers Board of Health, mental health, and public health. And the requested budget for fiscal year 2024 is a total of $201,110, which is about a 2% increase from last year. So for salaries, currently the department supports 2 part-time and full-time employees, a public health administrator and a public health nurse. The requested salary budget for fiscal year 2024 is $125,772 and is level funded from last year. On the operating expense side, the requested budget for next fiscal year is $75,338, up from $71,957. And that is a small increase in the various expenditure categories on here. For clinics, clinical supplies, in-person conferences are coming back after COVID, so they're a little more expensive. An increase in office supplies, and then again, car allowances. Folks are getting back out there. And that's really the change for the health department. I don't know if there's any questions.
Nope, I just wanted to remind everyone, I know we haven't reviewed a department budget in a while, that the salaries are level funded when department heads and when administrators submit their budget. And then a COLA, which is currently being held in the human resources budget, is then reallocated once that's been voted. It's been voted to be 3%. So you will see that line item for the health salaries go up. In terms of department heads, they will receive the 3% cost of living, and then there's a merit pool. So that salary will increase after that, and I do that when I do the performance reviews after town meeting.
And that's consistent with how we do it throughout all the departments.
Correct. Yep.
So there's nothing unique about this department in that regard.
Nope, the question had come to us recently why we weren't increasing anybody's salaries, but we had been talking about a 3% COLA, so I wasn't sure if I had kind of made that clear to everybody as we started this.
Yeah, yeah.
You get in the habit of, I know how it works, I just don't explain it as well to everybody else.
Separate bucket, right?
As long as you know how it works.
I know how it works.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Questions, comments, or?
Nope.
Okay.
Mather, do you want to go through facilities?
Sure, is Amy online or is she?
So I don't think Amy's going to be able to be with us this evening, so I'm your second.
Oh, that's fine. So the town facilities budget, we met with Amy Callahan, who is the department head for the town facilities department. I would say the main highlight of this budget request for the year is an increased salary request for a project manager. It looks like the request is for about $80,000 for a salaried position, and the primary focus of that position would be to handle the backlog of capital approved budgets, approved capital projects that have been approved in the past, and just to work through those. All those capital projects are included in the budget. They have been approved in the past. They do not affect the fiscal year 24 budget as they previously approved. Other than that, we are facing a small increase like other departments. She's anticipating an increase in the cost of electric utilities in the town hall, public safety, town garage, and the town transfer station, and she's expecting about a 7% increase. And the Center on Aging as well as their electric bill. Not unlike anything we've seen throughout the town, other department and department budgets. So, really no surprises on this. Pretty much level funded throughout the rest of the budget. I'll be surprised if, I think she's gonna have some issues hiring at that level of the salary for a qualified project manager, but that's her task to handle. So, yeah.
It sounds like it's desperately needed,
It
given
is.
all the, I mean, we've approved a lot of money, and we're spending a lot of money on
Yeah.
capital items.
It's roughly $230,000 in capital that needs to be completed.
So Matt, does this person manage the projects? I mean, so that we have this backlog
Yeah.
from prior years. And what's this person going to do? Is it going to schedule it? Is it going to
It's
prioritize
full
it?
spectrum project management. So it would be project bidding, project budgeting,
Okay.
project management, project oversight, project completion, closeout, the whole thing.
And in the past, who did this?
So it's just Amy.
Yeah.
Just
We
Amy,
have
okay.
Amy, and
So-
we've found
so
over the
this
last,
is probably a common position that most towns would have.
yeah.
We've been missing it.
And
We're
we've
missing it.
found, a severe vulnerability in this department, only having one person.
Sure.
We do like our employees to have a nice work-life balance and be able to take vacation and those kind of things.
Sounds reasonable.
In addition, this project will work both schools and town.
Yep.
This is not just a town position. They would obviously be helping with the school projects as well.
When you look at the,
Yeah.
since that municipal building stabilization fund's been around, there's like $6 million that's gone into that
Right.
over, the last 5 years.
That's good.
So it's, it's definitely needs
Needed.
care and
Right.
taking,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some of the projects are like ADA
Only
compliance.
so much bandwidth.
Yeah, ADA
Yeah.
compliance, air handling unit replacements on schools and town buildings, so
yeah,
there's no shortage of work.
Needed position.
There's no shortage of work,
Yeah.
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 Did you say is it 40 hours? Or is it?
Oh, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was
Yeah. And again, I mean, my personal opinion, that salary range is going to be a unique person,
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
And to clarify, your role, your job is in this area.
Yeah,
So it's beyond the personal opinion.
We're hiring admin.
He speaks from authority.
All right, so we're gonna go work for Mather.
No, yeah, so this would be in addition to the daily responsibilities of the facilities coordinator.
Right.
So these are a backlog of capital projects that need to be completed. They have been approved. The budget has been allocated for them. So, other than that, everything's level funded. Yeah.
Well, you want to talk about the electricity increase?
Sure.
Michael's here.
Yeah, sure.
My day traders are here.
So the town and schools are on a shared contract for electricity utilities. The contract that we have right now is a very good rate. We're at just shy of 9 cents. It's 8.9 cents or so. The contract that we have runs through the end of calendar year 2023, which unfortunately is in the middle of fiscal year 2024. So based on where the market's at right now, we haven't approved a new contract for the beginning of 2024 or calendar year 2024. But where the market is right now, at least for the municipal department side, we're projecting a 7% increase in the budget for those line items. And the reason, excuse me, it's a little lower than maybe some would expect is because it's only accounting for half of the fiscal year. It is not a full year increase, so we only need right now anyway, we're projecting the 7% increase across the board.
Okay.
So, in the context of the observation of market cost for this position, is this published when the town meeting approved the budget, or at what point do we go with them?
Oh, for posting the position? I will hold off until we have town meeting approval for the creation of the new position.
So if we come to the market and this doesn't open up position, is there recourse to that within the budget, or are we
So I would
fixed
think,
at that rate?
no, I think it depends on where we hire. Obviously, if we don't hire somebody until end of July, beginning of August, you're gonna have some savings in there for the year. And then if we find somebody who's incredibly qualified, who we are looking to hire, and that 85,000 is not going to be marketable for that, we would come to you for a reserve fund transfer.
Yeah.
We have been looking at the other towns who are hiring positions similar to this, and they're in the $75,000 to $100,000 range. So, we kind of went with the middle ground on the 85. So, I'm also anticipating. Yeah, and I'm anticipating that we're going to find somebody who might be earlier in their career, who's looking to really get a start and work under Amy, who's a fantastic, tutor and can be a mentor for that person as well.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that there's some leeway. So I appreciate
Yes,
it.
we will work to fill it any way we can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, any other questions on facilities?
This isn't really a budget question. If we approve a project in fiscal year 20 or 21, but it still hasn't been done yet, does the authorization for that just run until the project
Yes.
is done?
Until the money's reauthorized for something else or the project's completed.
Yeah, and sometimes they might approve it, an estimated amount, but they spend less than that. So there's transfers back into the fund for things that got appropriated, 2 years ago, because the project didn't spend all the money, so that money comes back into the fund. So, yeah, but it's.
It was purely informational.
No, that's a good question. Good question.
Sharon is on.
Oh, and we have Sharon on Zoom.
Oh, great. Hello, Sharon. Can you promote her?
Oh, yep, sorry.
Her timing's impeccable. Hello, Sharon.
Good evening.
How are you?
Friends, how are you?
Good. Your timing is impeccable. Yeah, could you just announce your name and you're participating remotely?
Sure. This is Sharon Tatro, participating remotely finally.
Great.
Full screen.
Excellent.
I'll send her a picture.
Yeah, your timing's impeccable. We literally, the last agenda item was capital, so
There we go.
there we go.
Yeah.
So with that, do you,
Frank, did you guys bring handouts at all, or you just?
Yep, we sent it out in the meeting packet, so they should have it. But if you want, I can start walking through what we have. Yep.
You do that, because you're going to talk to me anyway, but I'm here to chime in.
Perfect. So I don't know if you want to go through each individual project. If you want to just talk the bottom line, I'm happy to do either of those. I was going to build upon what Steve said in terms of in 2021, we created the Capital Stabilization Fund. When we created the financial policies and put them into place for fiscal year 19, one of the major accomplishments of that was creating a 5-year capital plan. And we have stuck with that 5-year capital plan. The department heads have been great in participating in that process and moving us forward. Obviously, there are certain times where we have emergencies that arise, and we amend the capital plan for that. But for the most part, we are holding everyone to their 5-year submissions. I would be remiss if I did not mention that next year's capital budget will start meeting in July. Per Selectman Marcucci, former Selectman Marcucci, who is still on the capital budget committee. The financial policy says we will present a capital budget to you in, I believe it's August. And we will do that this year, going into fiscal year 25. But for fiscal year 24, we were a little delayed.
yeah, we're very supportive of that.
We are going to make it happen. So if you want, I can just go through each of these individually.
Okay.
So the first request is for fire department. This was actually, this is the, I believe, remind me, this is the 4th year, I'm sorry. I'm struggling reading my own notes. This is year 4 of the 10-year lease. This was the replacement for engine 3. The cost of this is $48,095, and this shows up actually on your general fund budget worksheet. This shows up under our debt and interest payments. The next item is from the fire department, and this is for the structural fire gear. And this is anticipated to come out of the capital stabilization fund, and the request for this is $30,000. But per Chief Carrico, as you know, he's one of our top grant go-getters, so he has actually already applied for a grant for this. And if that is the case and the grant is successful, this $30,000 would then be put back in at next year's town meeting into the capital stabilization fund.
Okay.
The next, we have a foam system. And this is for engine 3. This is $15,000, and this is anticipated to come out of the ALS revolving fund. We have a Parks and Recreation request. This is for the Hinkley Pond Guard Shack. Nope, I moved this to the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund, excuse me. The next one is the Hinkley Pond Storage Shed, and that is $12,000, also for Parks and Recreation, and that will come out of the Parks and Recreation revolving fund. The next, we have Public Works. We have a mini excavator. This is anticipated to come out of the Capital Stabilization Fund at $85,000. We have a vehicle for Public Works. This is a new hybrid vehicle. This is going to replace the current Mo-Goulet vehicle, and this is $55,000. And this is a new hybrid vehicle. And Mo and Amy are working on putting the electric charging station down at the DPW garage. So they're currently working on that with our energy manager as well. We also have a recycling compactor for Public Works. This was originally anticipated to be a grant. We are actually proposing this year it come out of the Capital Stabilization Fund, and that is the cost of $30,000. We have, the next one is information technology, and this is school information technology, and this is projectors, cameras, screens, IT infrastructure and hardware, and that is $300,000. We then have information technology on the town side. That is $30,000, and that's coming from the Capital Stabilization Fund as well. The next, I would move into our DPW pavement management project, and this is $185,000. And if you'll remember, the last few years, instead of having a spike in what we were requesting for the pavement management. We have smoothed it out and moved our request to $185,000 so that we have a steady amount of money going into that. We have a police vehicle. This is an unmarked vehicle in the fleet, and this is in the capital stabilization fund for $36,000. I know Chief Garrett has been working with the Energy Committee on the possibility of that being an electric vehicle as well.
How about the road improvement one, the 412?
Oh, chapter 90.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Then
sorry. I'm working off my notes and not the actual list that you got, I'm sorry. That is the road improvements that Mo anticipates coming out of the Chapter 90 funding, and that is approved by the Board of Selectmen when he makes that request for the Chapter 90. Sorry about that.
Is that something like the prior one? Is it a yearly program?
Yes.
To do this resealing and all that? Just,
Yep.
you know, they pick different parts of town that
Mhm.
are up and they do it? Okay.
Yep. And then, I'm sorry, and then the last one I have is the facilities vehicle, and that is the vehicle replacement. As you remember, last year, we did an electric vehicle for Amy Colleran, who's the director, so this year's vehicle is actually a truck, and this will be a plow, and it is not going to be able to be eligible to be an electric vehicle for this item, and this is $45,000 coming from the Capital Stabilization Fund. We then have the digitization of our land use records, and that was a grant that was applied for and received by Sarah Raposa before she left us. And we'll get started working on that. I believe we already have the appropriation for the grant on that. And then we have two projects for sewer enterprise, and that is the infiltration and inflow maintenance. That's $125,000, and the SCADA for the sewer enterprise for $100,000. I anticipate you will have some water enterprise fund requests. We have been working with water and sewer and kind of through some issues of some ARPA funding at them and some other projects, so they just need to go back to the drawing board and look at their water enterprise projects, but those will come in as well.
Have they approved their budget and?
Yes, although the capital budget, they need to go back and take one more look at, so, but their regular operating budget, they've approved. I just didn't have an updated copy for you this
Okay.
evening.
When will they have that approved capital?
We should have it very shortly.
So could we put that on, like, on the 3rd or the 11th too?
I think the 11th.
The 11th?
I think
Okay.
the 11th.
Okay.
What does SCADA stand for?
Good
I
question.
think S is, it's something to do with the
Uh,
software.
I-
Software,
wait.
I think, is the S.
It's,
So I'm not the only person who doesn't
I'll give it for you.
understand.
No, it's so I can tell you what it is. I
Okay.
can't tell you what it stands for. So the SCADA system, we have running throughout the town on all of our wells, our pump stations. So if there's an emergency, it's monitoring that and sends a notification back to the DPW. So,
Okay.
yeah. But I will get you the actual, what that stands for.
As long as I have some sense of what it does. Yeah, okay, sorry. I feel like I'm always the troublemaker here.
No, I can tell you
No.
right now.
Good questions.
So this is different.
It is a supervisory control and data acquisition.
Yes, that looks like that is, yes, because it says the sewer, yeah, I think
I'm just looking at
that's,
article
well, that
itself.
article is just capital stabilization, I think.
$1,096,000, but this is it doesn't include a couple, 3 items?
What's been in the warrant hasn't been updated, so that's,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
It will
Still a
be,
draft,
yeah.
yep. We're still working with them on that.
All right. Do you want to do municipal building stabilization, or did we already do that one?
Nope, I think Michael is prepared to
Okay.
present that.
Are any questions, any other questions
Yes,
on
I'm sorry if there
capital?
were any questions about that. So I did want to say, from the Capital Stabilization Fund, we anticipate $796,000, and that's what will be appropriated at town meeting. As we have done in the past, we will be applying ARPA money to that and reducing the amount that we take out of the Capital Stabilization Fund.
Yeah. And will all these other things, when you update the article, basically the things that'll get updated are like sewer, the things that aren't in there now that
Yep.
you'll add? Okay. Okay. Michael,
How are you?
good, welcome.
All right. So, Amy couldn't be here tonight, so myself and Christine will be doing the facilities. So the facilities stabilization account for fiscal year '24 is going to be a request of $1,490,500. And I'm going to start with the projects. I'm going to start first with the school projects, and then I'll talk about the town projects right after. So with the school projects, we'll start with the high school. We have a fire alarm replacement at the high school for $300,000. Preventive maintenance, we have 2 line items for preventive maintenance at the high school. AHUs, which is air handling units, and RTUs, which is rooftop units. The AHUs are a maintenance of $15,000, and the RTU maintenance of $25,000. And then resurfacing the tennis courts for $150,000.
They
I
definitely
promised
need-
you that we will get it in, and we did get it in.
We definitely need it, that's for sure.
Boy, bad.
Yeah.
And what we would like to do with the tennis courts is also look at doing a combination of tennis courts and pickleball courts. So
Right.
that's something that we're looking into right now.
Place to be.
So
It will.
Wait, can I ask you a question on the fire alarm
Yes.
replacement? How old is the one that's there now? Is it?
So when they did the renovation, we were told that it wasn't replaced.
Oh,
So the current
okay.
unit that's there is over 25 years old.
Okay.
So it's just like at the middle school a few
That's
years
not something
ago.
you could put off, yeah.
No, we need to get it done in the
Yeah.
summer. In fact, what we like to do is stop prepping the bids now, and we put language in them saying pending town meeting approval, so it doesn't hold us. So we don't award,
Yeah.
the bid out. But what we do is it gives us an opportunity to get ahead of other projects that are going to be lined up, so we can get the project done in the summertime. We just did that with the high school roof, and
Yeah.
we were able to get better pricing. So our high school roof is going to start the day after the last day of school, and the pricing came in much less because we were ahead of the bidding cycle.
Yeah.
So we want to do the same for these projects,
Okay.
Is it just the panel, or is it devices throughout?
the entire
Horns
system.
and strobes, everything, yeah, great.
So then at the Blake Middle School, again, a preventive maintenance program with the RTUs for $25,000. Auditorium seating for $150,000. We do have an allocation, I believe it was for $25,000. So when we originally put this project out there, we wanted to repair the seating. But when we got vendors to come in, they said that they can't repair them, that we need to replace them. So we put that funding aside. We went out, we got quotes, and we feel like that with the, I believe it's $175,000 that we have, we can replace those seatings at the Blake Middle School, which are also originals. So, and then carpet and tile replacement for $15,000 at the Blake Middle School, and this is just every year we continue to replace either a classroom floor or some carpeting. At the Dale Street School, we want to continue with the asbestos flooring abatement and removal and replacement for $50,000. The gym auditorium curtains for $25,500. The gym lift repair for $8,000. And then the ceiling, continue with the ceiling tile replacement. We did 3 classrooms this year. We want to continue with that project for $50,000.
I remember when we got the tour of that place, that gym curtain had asbestos in it or something like that. It was like,
Yes.
Needs work.
yeah.
So, and these are items that need to get done because we know we're going to be in the building for at least 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So these are items that have to get done if we're going to continue to maintain it as a school.
So is this, Mike, is in terms of the Dale Street, to your point, What's the approach there in terms of what
Yeah.
can be done, what should be done, what needs to be done?
What needs to be done is a lot. So if you, we did a tour of it, and you can see that the building is beyond its life. Yeah, and there's, in areas that have to get done. But what we're focusing on is if we're going to continue to use the building for the next, I'm going to say 6 years, that there are certain items that need to get done, that have to get done. So for instance, the asbestos removal, the state requires that we have a plan in place and that we show progress in that plan. So we have to continue to do that abatement and replacement of those areas. Gym curtains, we have to get that done, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be a safety issue. So we look at what are safety issues and what are issues that are going to affect the building and the students and the staff, that we need to continue to maintain that building as we move forward. The Wheelock School preventive maintenance program, that's the fan coil units for $10,000, preventive maintenance for exhaust fans for another $10,000, and then the floor VCT abatement and carpeting for $25,000. So this past year we did, on the first floor, we did one section of the hallway. We're going to continue that to the second section of that hallway and then move upstairs. And then at Memorial,
Question.
sure,
On the asbestos stuff, this is inclusive of testing, removal, and everything.
Correct.
And disposal.
and disposal, correct.
And that asbestos, that regardless of what happens to Dale, that's, we have to do that.
So you're going to pay
Even
for
if
it
you
either
tore down
today,
the building,
or
you
you're
would
going
have
to
to-
pay for it when you tore it down.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to pay
Just a
for
little bit at a
it.
time.
Yeah,
So it's you're not wasting money by
Right.
doing the demolition and
yeah.
permit.
Cost more in the future.
It will cost
Right,
more. in the future.
exactly.
So, and then at Memorial School, again, parental maintenance, the RTU unit for $15,000, the VCT floor replacement for $15,000, duct cleaning for $7,000, and then we're looking at an engineering study for the boilers. This was the Energy Committee's request. This wasn't a school committee request, it was an Energy Committee request to look at that boiler and do the study on heat pumps.
Mike, I thought that boiler was just put in.
That boiler was put in when there was the renovation, but the Energy Committee is looking to replace our boilers with
Oh, I'm
heat
sorry,
pumps.
this is Memorial. I was
Yeah.
thinking of Wheelock, sorry.
Yes.
Wheelock is the one that had the new boiler.
Wheelock was done
Yeah.
about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, and that's for $15,000. And then district-wide, we have equipment replacement for $12,000. So on the school side, the total request was $922,500. And now we move to the town buildings, and we look at first the town hall. The miscellaneous exterior facade repairs, which is $20,000. That's repointing of bricks. So currently, on this side of the building behind me, there's an issue with water penetrating through the window and coming into the building on a rainy day. And there's two issues. One is that they're looking at replacing that window, but the second thing is the brick facade has to be repointed. So you don't want to fix a window and not do the repointing of the building, or repoint the building and not fix the window. They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
We do have funding, correct, for the window currently in the budget. So this is just to finish that whole project and do it correctly. Copper replacement, $40,000. Christine, which floors are those?
So this is going to be a four-year plan. We are starting with the ground floor, which was approved last year, and then we'll move to, the garden terrace floor, and then we'll move to the first floor and go all the way. And unfortunately, the school department will be the last replacement in the fourth year, but
It's okay.
you
The
have better
penthouse, right?
windows and a better view, so that's how that works.
So we move on to
Moving on.
Yes. Preventive maintenance for the air handling units. That's $3,000. We started that work this year, but we need to continue and finish that. Exterior painting, 60,000. That is the wood areas outside this building that have to be scraped and repainted, and that's done every 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then the preventive maintenance for the exhaust fans in this building, which is $5,000. At the public safety, the card reader repair. So that building is now 10 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
We're.
Is it that old?
2017, so 5 years.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of the town
Yeah.
garage. Yeah.
So, so the card reader, that happens. So, like we've done it on the school side, it wears out, so you have to replace those units. So that needs to be replaced, and that's $5,000. The Park and Recs building, the Hinckley bath renovation for $85,000, and that goes hand in hand with the playground. Correct? It's going to stop being also renovated.
Yeah.
This is coming out of the revolving account.
It is.
Yep.
Yes.
That's required, they're required to do those renovations for
So
compliance with
there's a
with the water, whatever it is, it's considered
I
a,
mean,
huh?
So when in one of my projects,
He's doing all
when you
this.
put in certain structures or certain seatings, there's a requirement of how many bathrooms you need to have there for community members.
Yeah.
So this is part of that
Yeah.
requirement.
We have some code issues in that facility in terms of working showers and working bathrooms.
Yeah.
The COA building envelope repairs, which is $15,000. So, in order to maintain a building and continue the life cycle of that building, you want to do a preventive maintenance plan, and this falls under that preventive maintenance for that building envelope. So if you start repairing it now, you're not going to have the issues that we're having here at the town hall. So that's $15,000. Roof structure over patio for another $15,000. At the library across the street, RTU replacement for $65,000. That's a Green Communities grant, correct? We were talking about that the
Yeah,
other day.
this project is actually slated to be just over $250,000, and the town's portion of it will be $65,000. So,
And then we also have
Pretty good deal.
yeah, it's not a bad deal.
We also have a fire alarm system replacement for $30,000, and we were talking about this earlier. If doable, we should put the bid out for the high school and the library together,
Yeah.
which hopefully would save us some money. And you can write the bids a certain way
Yeah.
to make that happen. But I think that that would be something that we should be looking into, because there could be savings there for the town.
Yeah.
That, I believe, it's ATC computer controls, right? And that's at the library, and that's for $10,000. So the total town building request is $368,000. There's also what we like to put in every year is an emergency repair funding for $175,000 for situations that are not foreseen, but we need to take care of certain things. So we want to continue that for $175,000.
Was that the same amount last year?
Correct.
Yes.
Does it get used like all the way, or does the money just hang out?
So,
Yeah.
last year right now, we haven't spent anything.
Okay.
Better be wood. The year before, I think we came very close to spending all of it. We had a
The
couple.
last 2 years.
Last 2 years, we had a couple of.
The
I
roof
remember
issue.
here- yeah.
Yeah, the roof at the
Couple of
middle
issues.
school. Yeah.
But if it's not used, it will stay for the next year, and
What we
this
do is,
will add
we
to
would go
that
back to it, yeah.
fund.
So
Okay.
the article on the warrant this year for deposits appropriations into the municipal building stabilization fund includes any balance as of June 30th of 23 will go into that. So we just put it back and.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it gets transferred.
I wasn't
back.
sure if
Yeah,
it.
even though it's the
kept
same
adding
amount
on.
of money, we have to put it back and then take it back
Does
out.
that-
Okay,
does
gotcha.
that-
I just like to keep Andrew on his toes. That's really what it's about.
The project management service for $25,000. We spoke about that the other day also.
Yes, so we have, in last year's municipal building stabilization fund, we had an amount of money to bring in somebody from the outside to assist us with some project management services. We are anticipating that it's going to take us a little while to find somebody, so that will help bridge the gap and assist everybody. We don't anticipate the person we're hiring is going to be ready to go right out of the gate, so we're going to need some outside assistance to get us there.
So between the project manager and the emergency funds, 200,000. So for a total request, schools and town for 1,495,000.
And 85,000 of that will come from the Parks and Recreation revolving account.
Very good, thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Sharon, I assume this is all approved, right? The capital budget committee approved all this, right?
Yes, they approved all of that.
So you don't know, Sharon is on our capital budget committee representative, so.
For about 14 years, Sharon?
9.
But who's counting?
Who's counting?
Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, and I'll just say that everything was unanimously approved by both committees, or I guess on both budgets for committees.
Okay, great.
It's a good thing we have the funds.
Yeah. It
Okay.
makes the process much easier.
We didn't have that fund for 9 years.
No, we didn't. We've only had it for, since that fateful day in 2018, I think.
Come a long way.
Sharon and I have talked a lot about it, that it's much easier to do the capital budget, obviously, when you have the money and the funding for it, but it also makes it a little easier when you're not saying, gee, do we replace 4 firefighter outfits this year and 6 next year? I mean, that's what we were at, between 2014 and 2017. We were really picking and choosing and crossing our fingers that nothing else would break while we were replacing some of those things, both in the regular capital stabilization and municipal building. So we appreciate
come
not
a
only
long
the
way.
town's patience, yes, but the department heads' patience as we've fixed the leaky roofs in their buildings and made things better for all of us.
I know from the last 5 years, Sharon, some of the gymnastics and some of the twists and turns that you had to provide in terms of opportunities and solutions, including leases and different things. So while
Getting all the cars to the fact, like the police vehicles, as an example, getting those to the point that we're just replacing one a year, every year now, was really hard to get there. Because you're right, we had to lease a whole bunch, we had to do a bunch of different things, and the fact that we don't have to do any of that, and we can actually have discussions where we look at smoothing things out. So it's kind of like the pavement plan is like smoothed out now, and the amount of money that we just put into the tech at the schools is just smoothed out. And so it works well for everybody, because then the people trying to manage those budgets know that they've got a certain amount every year that they can count on, and if it just works better for everybody, and things, we're in a good spot.
Yeah, we are, definitely.
We're in a better spot than we used to be.
And I just wanted that to be made known, because as this just flowed through and looked at the ease of which this came, it's because of a lot of hard work and your investment in the past. Mike Martucci putting the 5-year plan in place, getting that visibility. So it's a testimony to yourself and other people who've been working on this for years. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I credit Mike Martucci for a tremendous amount of really great things that have happened in this town like this.
Well, thank you.
And Christine.
I just do what they tell me.
So we skipped over one agenda item at the beginning. Let me just go. We don't approval of minutes. We still have a couple of meetings outstanding. I don't think there's anything to approve tonight, but you're doing tonight's, right? Okay. And
We can
then
send you the recording. Yeah.
and then the update from town finance. Anything to We have a balanced budget.
We have a balanced
I don't know
budget.
if we said
I mean,
that, but.
We probably should have led with that tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Very related.
No, I just want to thank the school department, the town department heads, everybody that's been working together in the last 2 or 3 weeks to really make this a balanced budget and make that happen. Thank you to the school committee, Board of Selectmen. We should have a final budget worksheet to you for your meeting on the 3rd. Right now, Andrew's taking the cost of living amount that you see, in the merit amount that you see in the human resources budget, and that's being allocated and distributed to the individual budgets. So you will see some increases
okay.
as you
That's
get
where we
those
see
back.
it.
Yep. So you'll see that difference. Once we have that done, we'll do our final check and we'll be ready to go.
What were some of the changes to get it balanced? Was it mostly
Yep.
school?
Yeah, so if you remember last time, we were
21,
123
right.
short. We asked the school committee to look at their budget, because they had already come up with I think it was 250 or 270.
It was
173.
163.
73.
173, yeah.
173, yeah.
So they presented their proposal to the school committee on Thursday, and it was interesting where they went
I
for
haven't
the
had a
cuts.
chance to sit down with Mike. I looked at it, and some of the positions look like they might have gone from a full-time to, from a 1 FTE to a .8. There was money moved into a revolvers.
Yeah, they took some of your advice on
On
allocating custodians to
to
one of
the
the
revolvers,
revolvers
yeah.
and some other allocations.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing I heard was that they had budgeted to replace certain teachers at a certain certain lane, excuse me. And when they advertised the position, they found out that they could hire at a lower.
I had questions on that, yeah.
At a lower lane.
I haven't met with Mike yet, but
And
I think
so-
that's the answer.
That was some of their savings there.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
Which was interesting. And then I think those are the.
I think those are the school thing. On the town side, I can't remember if we talked about it at the last meeting, but we are changing our property deduction on our insurance, so that was a savings of $27,000.
Right.
We reduced our workers' compensation by $20,000. We reduced the snow and ice appropriation by $75,000. And then we consider that a fixed cost reduction. Those are all obviously shared by the schools in town. In the actual town operating budget, we reduced the request for the conservation agent from full-time to half-time, and we're looking at a regional. We reduced the cemetery budget by $17,500, and we can take a highway position that we had advertised. We pulled the advertisement, and so instead of filling it now, we'll fill it in January of '24 to kind of have a 6 months, $25,000 savings. So from the operating budget on the town side, we had $77,500, and then the fixed cost we had $122,000.
Yeah.
To the
A
point.
long way from where we started.
Right.
I think one of the
Yeah.
points that's worth noting is you had a reduction in the workers' comp insurance cost, but it was, if there were any layoffs that were resulting.
Yeah, we would have had to restore that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's good news that there were no layoffs
Right, correct,
to
yeah.
to achieve a balanced budget. So
Yeah.
I think that's an important.
Yeah.
Just with all the other increases to
Yeah.
get balanced is
Right.
Yeah.
It was,
substantial.
yeah, a lot of work, but it was
Yeah.
it's a good
Yeah.
budget.
And when you look at the.
I think everybody sort of understood kind of where
Right.
we were at all along the way, and worked towards, the
And
school
as
played their
Steve-
part.
In one
And,
of the slides that Steve pointed out, when 80% of your costs, our costs, walk around are human beings,
Right.
and you have the 3% increase, and you have the other costs relating to the contracts, there's a significant effort on everybody's part to achieve the balanced budget and absorbing that cost and maintaining and actually having one additional, position.
yeah.
So it's really a lot of work on your part and your departments in the schools to achieve that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good.
And as I said, we did it second year in a row, no free cash used to balance the budget. We didn't want to break Sharon's record.
Exactly.
Mr. Marcucci will be very happy.
But but I think the first year I was on 5 years ago, I think Sharon and Christine were working there, like the Saturday before the town meeting with, come a long way from Sharon's spreadsheets to the,
We were trying to balance right up until the day of town meeting, and just for a little historical context on the free cash usage, in 2018, we used over $1.5 million in free cash to balance the budget.
It was always over $1.5 million.
It was, yes, it was always over $1 million.
From when I joined this committee 9 years ago until the last couple of years, it was always like over $1 million. And we
Can't
were
put-
always never able to figure it out. And then like 3 weeks before town meeting, Mike's consultant would walk in and be like, don't worry, I got this. That's what happened.
I think maybe you can write an addendum chapter to Richard DeSorga's book, The History of This Small
Yes.
Town.
Yeah.
I got the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's, it's a tremendous effort
Oh, absolutely.
to go
We-
from $1.5 million.
Yeah,
Down
well,
to
we
zero
we
with
all
a balanced
stand on your
budget.
shoulders, that's for sure.
Yes.
That's good.
Re-emphasize the importance of these meetings.
Yeah, so before we get to the meeting, so informational items, Bob and I did meet with the auditors. We introduced a new process, I guess, of meeting with the auditors, with Christine and Frank. And they gave us an update on, they're pretty much done their audit. I don't know if they've formally issued their report yet, but they were very close to it. And it's gonna be clean opinion, no audit adjustments. They were very complimentary of the finance team here. And they have a good working relationship with them. And they don't have a management letter, so.
Management done?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, so it was a very good report.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, because I think that's a new step that we've taken this year on the Warrant Committee, but we thought it was important, just as we rely on all the departments and Christine and Frank and the team and Andrew, to just meet with them and have that conversation. And as Steve said,
Yeah.
it was very favorable, and we got a sense of what their scope is.
Yeah. So as we move forward to the 3rd and the 11th, we have kind of full agendas on both dates, and we've got commitments from all these article sponsors to come in and meet with us. And so maybe my suggestion is that whoever's the lead on these articles, maybe think about taking the lead. If people have questions on the articles, send them to the lead, whoever, and then they can circulate a list of questions, that we could all work from. But there's some interesting ones that we will have, I'm sure, some questions about, and everybody's coming in. So all the citizens petition ones, they're coming in to meet with us and explain the article. I will follow up with an email to the sponsors, because they weren't all here tonight, but we would like to, there's some concern that they're not written in proper form for town meeting. So we want them to bring forth a written motion, that would conform to what's required. Because otherwise it's hard to evaluate the article unless you know what that motion's going to be,
So on the 3rd, do we have I think Article 26 is coming. That's the power purchase.
Yes.
Is that,
So
Okay.
Megan
that was one of the things I haven't
on the 3rd.
printed out yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
Megan is coming. I don't know if you
Right.
reached out to her at all.
I
but-
haven't.
Okay.
No.
But I did confirm that she either her or someone from the Energy Committee will be here.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Is that part of the Frank's email? I didn't get
I
it.
have my.
The article, is it in
No,
there?
this piece of paper.
Yeah, and then Chris is coming to talk about the school committee public hearing one. She's coming for that. And then Mark Green's coming for the compensation transparency one.
Can I propose adding a quick 2-minute, really less than 2-minute review for the Cultural Council on April 3rd, if I can shore that up.
The budget, you mean, the
Yep,
department
yep.
budget? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we can,
That'd be quick.
we'll add that in.
We just haven't had a chance to cover that, so I don't want to leave one.
What do I do with
No,
mine? Let me
You're
find
right.
mine. I have mine.
There was an email related to the building of the garage at the Council on Aging.
It was.
Do we think someone's gonna come in on that, or just they've sent their email?
Yeah, that was Abby Marvel who had sent the comment, and I circulated that to everybody. That's an article we'll have to talk about and deliberate over and vote on. It's for the garage. And so I'm sure that, whoever the town or the council on aging can explain,
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
come in and
can explain
present
that to us.
the
Do you
context
want me to
of
have
that.
them come in?
I'm gonna talk to Sarah and Rich and
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, I'll have them come in.
Okay.
Yep. No.
Good, sure, if you want to do it.
No, I'll take care of it.
Got the
No
connection.
problem.
Yeah.
And I think, one point on that, Steve's letter, email that came out, I think it's very important that we as a deliberative body just give time to each one of the proponents and presenters before and then we can engage in our comments. But it's really important to give that opportunity to the citizens who present this.
Yeah.
So we can get a full view of what they are before
Right.
we.
And then on the 11th, we have both water articles. So we have the citizens petition on the creation of groundwater protection. And we've invited DPW and the water and sewer. I think DPW will be here. I haven't heard back from Bill if they were able to get somebody to come to that meeting. And then the private well one, Article 28 is that day. And then we're also going to have revocation of the civil service, and that will be, I think, Christine and Gus, I think,
And the police chief.
and the police chief, and the police chief, right. And, so, and then we always have these financial articles. We're going to have to start voting on the financial articles to the extent we can, knock some of those off next meeting. I think we're at a point where we could, I know we have a couple more departments to get to, but the other financial articles, like tonight, we probably could have approved the capital budgets, but we can wait to do that next meeting. So that's the plan, and we'll see what happens, and whether we need that meeting on the 25th or not. But we might need a follow-up meeting on some of these articles, yeah.
Just to put a bow on it.
Yeah.
Right. And we are going to print on the 12th for the warrant report. So if
Yeah.
you haven't made a decision on any of those, you would just to be heard
To be heard.
for anything, and you could, you can continue to deliberate and review after we send it to print, and we'll just update the website, and we'll, let
Yeah.
everybody know that change has been made.
Whatever,
Yeah, if you make a decision before town meeting.
Yeah, and the financial articles, we definitely want to vote on by the 11th, so they can get printed in the warrant.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah, which I think we will. We'll be there on that.
Should be at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
So the Monday the 3rd, are any of the articles that the selectmen, the water and the noise going to be discussed only because we have a meeting the next night? So if there's anything we want to take from here to discuss on the 4th, because then the next meeting with the warrant committee will be on the 11th, which will be the following Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
We're pushing any of the selectmen articles to the 11th. So you
To the
guys,
11th?
yes, you guys can have a chance to discuss them on Tuesday.
yes, that's correct. The 11th, we have the citizens petition on groundwater, but then we also have Article 28, which is private wells.
Yeah.
And then
the
we
noise
have the
bylaw.
revocation of civil service.
Yeah.
So, Article 5.
When is the noise abatement?
Oh, and then highlight noise.
If it doesn't come up on the 11th, it'll come after the 11th.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to
Yep.
make sure we've got time to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right, the noise one, yeah. We don't expect that to be a long discussion.
No, this is
Yeah.
totally my calendar. Oh, sorry.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, there's probably other non-financial articles that I missed, like that noise one. We probably should.
Yeah, I figured
probably
we-
should list
we'll
those
fit them
out.
in.
Yeah, we'll
We'll list
revise.
them out because it's, we'll have to list them on the actual agenda.
Yeah.
To give people notice that you're talking about them.
Yeah, I have a catch-all for financial articles, but I don't have one for other non-financial articles, so we definitely should put those on.
So is it the 11th or the 3rd that you want the financial actions?
It has to be by the 11th.
Yeah, I'd love for you to do it on the
Be
3rd.
preferable.
I would love
We're
for you
gonna
to
do,
do it on the 3rd.
so you want to do them all on the 3rd? Okay,
The financial, yeah.
okay, we
I
could
would-
do that. I think we're ready.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to do
Then
it.
we can prepare the
Except I don't know
final
where you're
budget.
going to be on the garage, but.
That you can hold off on. I'm just more
Okay.
concerned about the operating budget so that we can
Oh, yeah,
finalize
yeah,
the operating budget to get the operating
Yeah,
budget.
the operating budget we
Yeah.
could do.
No, the
Yeah.
rest, any of the other articles are fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do the operating budget.
That's the biggest one for us.
So maybe we'll just list out a separate line item for the operating budget
Yeah.
to get that out of the way. All right. Very good. I would entertain a motion. to adjourn.
Sharon, can you answer the motion?
I motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor? And I guess we have to do a roll call. Sharon, you ruined it. We have to do a roll call now. Ed, go ahead.
Yes.
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 Sharon's a yes. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Record.